Hey YouTube, thanks for coming back to my channel. Give me another chance. I know last week's video was a little bit long. Uh, my thing is I was thinking about I'll do it in two parts because I got another part for that video. I've got some more animals that I'd like to show in that supers and allelic combo arena. So look for another video for those. But that 40-minute video, watch it, split it up in two, and then you can watch it. In a two-parter if you'd like. It's better than waiting for part two, isn't it? I think. So today what we're going to talk about in today's video is we're going to talk about quality. A lot of people say and talk about quality, but nobody ever really kind of shows you what does quality look like. And when you're looking at quality and you're talking about quality in an animal, you really need something to compare it to, right? I mean, because you could look at some animal all by itself and say, that's pretty good darn quality. But then you see another combo of the same combo, somewhere else, and you're like, oh, well, wait a minute, that one looks way better, and it's the same combo. So that's what I want to show you today. I've got a couple examples of showing you quality, right, where you just compare one against the other one, which one's quality, which one's less quality. I think all the examples are pretty good looking animals, to be honest with you in this. But when we start talking about quality, nobody really ever defined. Show me what you're talking about when you're talking about quality. So that's what I'm doing today. I'm going to put my money where my mouth is, and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about when I'm talking about quality. So we're going to show you a couple examples, just a couple of them, of examples of just pure this one to this one quality. Then I'm going to show you a couple of deals that you can do to increase the look and quality and the quality look of your animal. Some genes need help. Some genes just need a little bit of help. And I'm going to tell you what, every gene, in my opinion, looks better in combination rather than just by itself. So we're going to show you some ways that genes that are always been considered not a great gene in the hobby, and how you make those genes work for you. All right, so I'm going to show you some in pastel, show you some pinstripe stuff, and see if we can maybe make you think differently about pinstripe. All right, so I'm going to get you to it. I want you to be looking at animals, not listening to me and looking at me, that's for sure. So thanks for coming back. Don't forget, like, comment, and subscribe. I appreciate you coming and looking at my video. I appreciate you. Thank you. Okay, here we go. First group of animals. We're going to be looking here at quality. And so this is what I believe. I produced this animal. I produced both these animals. So I'm just going to show you. They have different parents. Different mom and dad. They might even have the same dad. I believe they have the same dad, but different moms. So this is the first example of leopard Enchi fire. Let's get another example. Same genes. Where's the quality? Which one is the quality one? Which one do you think is better quality? So you basically, both are females. Both are Enchi fire, leopard Enchi fires. Both animals have the same father, different mothers. This was the genetic black. This one, the one that I have here, this one is the one I believe looks a little better, a little smoother, a little crisper, a little cleaner, which is this one here, right? And we look at them side by side pattern-wise, similar patterns, similar colors, but to me, this one just looks a little cleaner, a little smoother, a little crisper. And so, somebody might even say, hey, this one's the higher quality one because it's got a little bit of a brighter color tone. Let's get her back down here. Now it's two snakes. That's hard to deal with. All right, so I feel this one's better quality. I produced both of them. Both of them have the same dad, and I believe both of them are the exact same as far as genetics are concerned. So I think they're both nice. They're both going to be used here. I just wanted to be able to show you and compare and be able to say, okay, what do you think? These are both young females. Which one do you think is better? Better quality. They're both beautiful snakes. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying we don't have two beautiful animals here. I'm just saying the one here on the right, to me, looks a little cleaner, a little smoother. It just makes it a little bit nicer. Here's another animal, another Enchi fire animal. This is Enchi firefly. So this is an Enchi firefly. I produced her. She's beautiful, female. Just not breeding her. This is what an adult female in my collection looks like when she's not being bred. Okay, so she's not being bred this year. So, I try to keep them at a much healthier weight. This is a much healthier weight for a female ball python to look like when she's not being bred. They don't need to be fat as get out, every day of their lives. They prep themselves, they build themselves to do the breeding and producing the eggs. So this, I produced her, Enchi firefly. Now, I'm going to show you a comparison. Her brother, same clutch, pastel lesser, leopard, Enchi fire. And so when you line breed pastel, look at the difference. Look at all the browning out. They call this tipping or browning out. And then look at her brother. That's quality, right? This is line breeding for a pastel. These are siblings. This animal's got something this animal ain't got. I thought for a long time that it was attached to my fire gene, but I don't think it's attached to my fire gene. I believe it's attached maybe to my lesser gene, and I'll show you that later on as we go. And then I can bring in this young male. And again, this has no leopard in it, but it has the Enchi fire. And let's look. How does it start? How are we doing? So these animals are all related. These animals are all related. And where's the quality? This animal, just look at the tipping, the browning out. We don't have any tipping or browning out in these animals at all. Nothing. So this is how we line breed pastel. And this is how we make it look better and better each time. So these two are siblings, this one here and this one. This one is this one's offspring. So we breed quality, you get quality. I haven't even bred his sister yet. I will down the road, but she hasn't bred yet. So where's the quality? I believe the quality, best quality is here with the best colors, the brightest colors and whatnot are right here. All right. My microphone took a dump, so we're back to original phone sound. So you're probably going to hear a little bit of echo, whatnot. I'm charging them right now, and they'll be ready for the rest of this video shoot. So basically what I want to talk today about in today's Get to Know Coach is, again, I've been around a long time. I've seen a lot of people come, and I've seen a lot of people go. And I just kind of want to kind of tell you why I see people leave, why I see people get out of the hobby. The first reason is they're overwhelmed. And to me, there's three types of being overwhelmed. The first type is you're overwhelmed by the time commitment to this hobby. People grow too fast. That's the first problem in this hobby. People collect way too many animals way too fast before they really even understand if they like even caring for ball pythons or they enjoy caring for ball pythons. And before you know it, They got 50 or 60 ball pythons, and they discover pretty quickly that they don't like having to spend all this time caring for the animals. They didn't anticipate that. Well, taking care of 1 or 2 ball pythons is very easy. Very easy. Taking care of 100 ball pythons, that's a little bit of time consumption there. And so when people go from having 0 or a couple of snakes to 50 or 60 snakes over a very short period of time, that time commitment grows, and it grows quickly. The other way of being overwhelmed is overwhelmed financially. It's not cheap to feed these animals. And for people who think they need to feed their animals every week, that gets to be a big, big chunk of money every week and a big job every week, especially if they went from very few animals to 50 or 60 animals in a short period of time. And the third way of being overwhelmed is a labor. I don't like cleaning snake poop and urates. And they don't find that out until they got 40 or 50 animals, because having just a few animals is not that big a deal. They don't really have to do it that often, so they don't, they know they don't like it, but they don't do it that often, so they really don't connect the two. When you have 50 or 60 animals, picking up snake poop and urates becomes a big part of your life. And you don't like doing that. Again, you're overwhelmed by the labor of actually what you're doing. The other reason that I see people get out is it didn't meet their expectations. They thought it was going to be a whole lot easier than it was. Their results aren't what they thought their results were going to be, right? And when you start breeding ball pythons with all of these genetics, you got to get lucky sometimes. There's a lot of luck involved. And sometimes you just don't get the animals out of the clutch that you anticipated getting. And that's disappointing. That's disappointing. It doesn't live up to their expectation of what was going to happen. This isn't going to make you wheelbarrows full of cash in a hurry. And so they're disillusioned. And they're disillusioned because they thought they were going to come in here and find an easy means of which to earn some additional income, another route of revenue for them. And it doesn't turn out to be that. And what it turns out to be is, you're in the red all the time, because it's expensive to feed ball pythons. It's expensive to care for them, to have, the substrates, the water bowls, the changing of the water bowls, the hides, the racks, it's all expensive. And, they're disillusioned because they felt like, they'd come in, they'd breed some ball pythons, they'd sell some, they'd reinvest that money. Well, they never get that seed money to reinvest in their caging and their equipment and whatnot. And then the last thing that I really wanted to touch on as far as people leaving the hobby, I don't understand it, but every time, 90% of the time, when a person leaves the hobby, there's some sort of exit speech. There's an exit speech out on Facebook. There's an exit speech out on Instagram. There's an exit speech out on YouTube. And I don't understand that either. If you're going to leave the hobby, we're not going to have a retirement party for you or a bunch of fanfare because you're leaving the hobby. More likely what you're going to see when you make an announcement that you're leaving the hobby is people are going to come out of the woodwork asking you what you're selling and trying to get it dirt cheap because they know you're motivated to sell. You want to get the heck out of here. And so that's why I always say, if you're going to leave the hobby, everybody doesn't need to know about it. Leave that part of mystery. If they don't know you're leaving the hobby, you're not going to have all these people when you're trying to sell your animals and your equipment coming out of the woodwork lowballing you on everything. You're going to have a much easier time, and you're probably going to earn more money in the sale of your collection and your equipment than if you made a big announcement that you're leaving.
now people are going to say, okay, I'm going to get stuff for, basically giveaway prices. And you don't want to fight that. And you don't want to argue that. And you don't want to negotiate that. Right? So I would advise you, if you decide that you're going to leave the hobby, don't publicize that until you're nearly out. And then if you want to say, hey, I've sold majority of my animals, most of my equipment, and I'm going to get out of I'm getting out of the hobby. I got a few odds and ends and equipment left, but that's it. And then do your exit speech. Don't exit speech until most everything in your collection is sold. Then your exit speech is going to be a much better um, experience for you. Because doing the exit speech prior to starting to sell off of your hobby or your business is just going to bring the vultures. It's just going to bring the vultures. And you don't want to deal with the vultures right out of the gate. You're eventually going to have to deal with the vultures, but you don't want to deal with them right out of the gate. Get a majority of your collection sold. Just on the premise that you're selling some animals. You're changing directions in a couple of projects. And you'll have a much easier time. Just a little bit of advice from a guy who's been around a while. Don't do an exit speech until you've sold out most of everything you've got, because you're gonna set yourself up for a bunch of heartache and a bunch of negotiation and a bunch of, you know, feeling like you got took. So just my advice. Take it for what you will. And what do you glean out of this conversation? Start slow. Somebody said a while back, you grow into business, you don't go into business. So grow slowly. Acquire your animals. Make sure you've gone through that time adjustment, that monetary, that financial adjustment, that labor adjustment. And that you're good with all that. And you're happy with all that. And you feel like you can still do some more, add another small group of animals. And repeat the process. And that's the way that I've done it. I've grown very slowly. Maybe 6 years ago, my collection wasn't even half the size it is today. And I've grown my collection with my own production. And that's what a lot of times people don't realize, that your collection is going to grow through osmosis just by keeping a holdback or two every clutch. And like we talked about last week, and if you're not looking for a holdback out of that clutch, an animal that advances your project, or something like that, then you probably shouldn't be doing that breeding at this point in the hobby. So, just my 2 cents. Take it for what it's worth. Take what you need, leave the rest. And if it applies to you, it applies to you. I hope it's helped somebody. If it's helped only one person, then I think it's been worth it. Hey, let's get back to some animals. Let's finish this video out and see what we're here meant to see. I'll talk to you at the end.
All right. Here we go, next group of animals. Now, remember I told you in the intro that sometimes you have to help some animals, some genes. There's a lot of genes out there you need to help to make them look good. If you got to try real hard to make them look good, it probably is not worth it. But this little trick can make this gene look really well. Let's talk about pinstripe. Not a lot of people love pinstripe. I love pinstripe. Here's a big pinstripe girl. She's a proven breeder. She's also an allelic animal. This is cinnamon inchy pinstripe. Pretty dark, huh? You would think maybe Inchy would lighten it up a little bit, but it doesn't. Here's a male pinstripe. Still pretty dark. Guess what that one is? ODYB pin. Cinnamon Inchy, ODYB. So I'm showing you pinstripes with Orange Dream, pinstripes with Inchy, and they're still dark. Okay, so here is how we fix this. This is pinstripe. This is also Orange Dream. But add lesser to it. Look what a much better looking snake that is, right? This is pinstripe. This is OD, lesser, pin. But you're saying, well, that's not fair because you took the yellow belly out. Okay. There it is with yellow belly. Same thing with yellow belly. And you can see how pinstripe looks much better. Touch it with a little lesser. Put a little banana with it. Anytime you lighten up pinstripe, I think it looks a lot better. And you got, to what I think, a higher quality animal. So, you know, really, I really like pinstripe. Now I got 4 snakes in this bin, right? And these two are siblings. This is their daddy. This is the last group of animals. Trying to make this video shorter after my epic from last week. So really, really trying to make the video shorter. So here's my last group. One of my favorite combos. One of my favorite girls. That's Inchy Fire. I picked up this girl from Mike Wilbanks. She's a proven breeder. She's not breeding this year, so again, I leave my females to be a lot more healthy body condition when they're not being bred. The only time you need to fatten them up and really build them up is when they're breeding, because it takes a lot out of them to make, but they don't need to be incredibly huge, with a bunch of weight on them, just running around town. Let me use my hook so we can get her head. I got to figure out this side closest to the camera, because unless I do that, and then that's just almost a straight down shot at her. But that's her, Inchy Fire. I think she's pretty good, high quality animal, be honest with you. Sorry about moving the camera, setting it back down on all 3 of its tripods. So now let's look at a comparison. This is a young Inchy Fire female that I produced. Where's the quality? This is why I think that I have a kicker gene in my fire. Look how light she is compared to the other one, right? But there's something else we can do that's really going to help this combo. That's the same combo, but it's Desert Ghost. So that's another way we can help, right? We can help by using Desert Ghost. And that's why I tell you, pretty much my entire collection is probably going to go the way of Desert Ghost. I'm going to put this little baby back because she's terrified being in there with them big animals. But that's Inchy Fire. And how do we help that one? I definitely think here, the first one I put out was the quality, better quality than this one. Just this young female that I'm growing up. Still an inchy fire. Matter of fact, this girl was 1/2 of my first set of twins. Cool, huh? All right, man, that's going to do it for this week. I told you I was going to try to make it a shorter one for this week because, last week's video was epic. It was epic. But watch it in 2 parts. That way you don't have to wait for part 2. You don't have to wait for my lazy butt to upload part 2 because, like I told you before, there's going to be what I call part 3. You'll have part 1 and part 2 in part 1, and then I've got a couple more animals that I wanted to shoot for that video, but it was getting so darn long. All right, so that's it for today's video. Hopefully this one's a lot shorter than the last one, a little bit easier on your time. Give me some feedback, please, and then help me get better. That's all I'm looking for. I really appreciate you coming back by. And I think you're going to see a screen that's going to tell you, so I'm not going to tell you. All right. Thanks for coming by again.